So if you think about the history of South Africa, it being under an apartheid system, where I think it is 80% of the population that are Black Africans only own 4% of the land. That is because they were put in shanty towns and moved into areas where they had no rights. And so 30 plus years ago, they went through a revolution. The apartheid system ended, and they reformed their constitution under the great leader of Nelson Mandela. And that allowed for a racial reconciliation, one that this country has yet to do. But South Africa did it, and they reformed their constitution. And part of that is that the people who are native to that land deserve their rightful land back. That is not what the Afrikaners actually want to have happen, which are the white Africans. And so who are not originally from Africa, who colonized South Africa also. And so that is what they are saying is discrimination. Now, if the constitution in South Africa is discriminatory, they have their checks and balances in that land, just like we do. And that is for them to, so if the Afrikaners don't actually like the land, they can leave that country.
They're leaving to come here.
No, they can
these refugees are coming here.
They can actually leave and go to where their native land is, which is probably Germany.
Are you against them coming here?
Holland. Probably.
Holland.
Are you against them coming here?
I'm against the hypocrisy of this administration.
No, that's not the question. The question is, are you against them coming here?
If there was actually a genocide happening, like there is in other places in Sudan, in the Congo, I'm not opposed for Congolese and for the Sudanese to come to Africa, just like I'm not opposed to Venezuelans and South Americans coming to America if they are fleeing and looking for asylum. What I am
just
against,
these 50 people you're
what
against.
I am against, it's not about being against them. What I am against is that they are being given special treatment when there is not a genocide happening in South Africa, and they just don't like the law of the land.
What's the difference between the refugees that they're talking about here and those refugees?
I could guess. I mean, I think everyone—
They're white.
They're white. Thank you. They are white. And I think, look, if that is how you feel, fine, then hold the line. But there are people all over the world, even people in this country right now, who are seeking, who have sought asylum, who are going through the process of asylum seeking, and have been detained by ICE and are being deported. There's also a genocide happening in the Congo right now that I don't see any Congolese being getting relief to come to this country. So there are Afghanis that helped us in Afghanistan that we have left behind. Even the last administration didn't do right by them. This administration can do right by them, but they are not, because it doesn't fit the narrative of the type of immigrants that we want in our country.
And even
so, if you think about the history of South.
But they're being denied refugee status. So I'm wondering, why has such an exception been made for the Afrikaners, especially when the South African government says they're not in danger? And are you going to open up the refugee settlement program for others?
The criteria are making sure that refugees did not pose any challenge to our national security and that they could be assimilated easily into our country.
There are many people who fit the criteria of seeking help, who are fleeing persecution. Afghans, for example, I mean, they live in a country run by the Taliban, but they're being denied refugee status. So I'm wondering, why has such an exception been made for the Afrikaners, especially when the South African government says they're not in danger? And are you going to open up the refugee settlement program for others?
The criteria are making sure that refugees did not pose any challenge to our national security.
Good morning and welcome to another edition of Let It Be Known. Of course, I am your host, Stacey Brown, and it's good to be with you this morning.
Peace and love and welcome. Come on in, everybody. We have a lot to talk about. And as you can see from that morning clip, yeah, the Afrikaans have privileges that everybody else don't.
So the thing about that, too, is that the premise of bringing them over here, Elon Musk complained some time ago to Donald Trump that these white Africans were being stripped of their land. And Trump got, his panties in a bunch and said, let's bring them over here. Bring them over here.
I think the CNN contributor pointed out that, everybody else doesn't fit the narrative,
Right.
Basically a Project 2025, and those white folks over in Africa do, which is just another problem that we have under a Trump plan administration.
As Dr. Joni says, they're not even trying to hide its abject racism. They're not. It's like, and I guess they're in a
Mhm.
they're in a space now where they feel like, why should we?
Right.
And that's unfortunate. Um, we got a lot today, like you said, to talk about. And do we have a black quiz, a black pop quiz?
Yeah, we do.
Yes, we do. Okay. Which once side man who once backed the Isley brothers, wow, and a preacher's son from Macon, Georgia, had lost more than 60% of his hearing by the time of his death?
Mm.
Macon. Well, I know it can't be James Brown. I know he's from like the Macon, Georgia area, but it's not James Brown. But which once side man or one time side man who once backed the Isley brothers and a preacher's son from Macon, Georgia, had lost more than 60% of his hearing by the time of his death? That is interesting. You got any guess, Neo? Any
Yeah, I'm gonna wait and see what the
what the
Let It Be
chat
Known
says?
chat is talking about.
Oh wow. Okay. Another good one. All right. Well, speaking well, I won't say another good one, but of course, as you all know, Cassie Ventura took the stand yesterday, and she will be back on there probably all day today. Prosecutors said they'll have her on for at least half the day, which means that the defense will get their chance afterwards. Um, Here's the thing, though. I mean, we heard all the testimony, we know all the salacious things, and I've seen a lot of legal pundits, legal analysts ask a simple question that we, I think, have asked too. And I see it constantly. I'm looking for my man Joey Jackson. I haven't yet seen his take yet. And I love Joey is the best there is in the business, hands down. He is the CNN headline news legal analyst. He has his law firm and he has his law firm in New York. And I mentioned all that because he has his family of lawyers. His kids became lawyers. His wife, his daughters, his sons, and they run a great firm in New York. He's not just a talking head on CNN, but I'd like to hear his take. But here's the
Oh, yeah,
thing:
he
the
was on
question.
CNN yesterday.
Okay, and I missed it. But the question that all these legal folks are asking, and even the journalists who are covering it, is what in the world did this has to do with the charges?
Right.
And we're not so far, and it's early, Neil. So far, we're not seeing an answer yet.
Well, I think it's important to make clear that the charges are racketeering and sex trafficking. It's 5 charges, and what we saw yesterday on the stand was more about a very interesting relationship, or I mean, just a relationship between Diddy and Cassie, and what they did during their private times. We did hear that there was some domestic violence. A lot of domestic violence is involved, but like you said, that's not what we're on. Diddy is being charged with. And everything that they talked about in the court yesterday had to do with the state case. This is a federal case. And so it
Mhm.
will be interesting to see today if the prosecution can begin to present their federal case with
Mhm.
Cassie, or if we're just going to continue to hear more of things that should have been charged in the state case.
I think the one thing though that they have done with her, if you want to look at it from their point of view, is that they've established that these incidents, these so-called freak offs, happened New York, Miami, Los Angeles, New Jersey. So they, part of their case is that he trafficked people across state lines. So I think that is the one little nugget that you can,
Mm,
if you're on their side, you can argue
mhm.
that okay, they're establishing this that is across state
It's
lines.
a reach though, because so far it's all been consensual. It's grown folks
Mhm.
having grown folks activities. They're
Right.
gross. They're gross grown folks activities. Yeah, there's a lot of gross stuff that she said, but it's still not adding up to racketeering and sex trafficking. Maybe when she brought up the situation about Suge Knight being down at the bottom, and Puff jumped up and with his crew, and they picked up
Mhm.
guns and ran down to the bottom of the hill. But it's very weak I thought it was interesting that his entire family sat through her testimony, because they were once all one big happy family. I thought it was interesting that Alex Fine, her husband, was not allowed in the courtroom. They said that he could be a potential witness, so he wasn't allowed to stay in the courtroom. He looked very stone faced when they had video footage of him walking out of the courtroom. So basically, she didn't have any support. She was there by herself. But she told her truth. And a lot of it seemed like, she was rocking and rolling with it too. She
Hmm.
said that she wanted to do it because she didn't want nobody else to take her place. I thought that was very interesting conversation. That she is a victim, but she also made choices in that
Um,
situation.
and Dr. Nicole notes that drug people cannot consent. There was a lot of testimony from Cassie that there was drugs. But here's the thing. The jurors in this case, that's of course the most important thing, how they're seeing it. And the jurors, what I realized, and going back last night through the jury pool and the ones that are seated, the 12 that are seated, they'll every single one of them have at least a college degree. Some of them have PhD, some of them have well, PhD doctorate as well. But every single one of them has at least a one college degree, and they range in age from 30 years old, I should say, to 74 years old. And the 74-year-old works with people with disabilities and holds a sociology degree. And you have also an individual who's 68 who watched with great interest the Making the Band, and which featured it's Puffy's show Making the Band, and
Mhm.
also viewed the video from the hotel. Several of them said they saw the video from the hotel. You have a
Mhm.
scientist, a molecular biologist on
Mhm.
here, a nursing aide, a corrections officer on here,
Mhm.
a retired banker. I say all that to say that's the makeup of the jury, yes, but it appears that this is the type of jury that you're not going to be able to pull the wool over their eyes.
Yeah, for sure. For
Well,
sure.
meaning like you saying, like if they're only tying this to domestic violence, this is the type of jury that will say, wait a minute, this is not what he's charged for. Is what we've been saying, what we've been asking, I should say, and what others have been asking. This is not what he's being charged for. So it's early, as Dr. Nicole points out. It's early. It's a 2+ month trial they expect it to be. So
Right.
maybe a lot more will come out. But I agree. Yesterday we had a conversation, and Greer mentioned that I think they should have probably the prosecutors should have saved Cassie for last.
Well, yeah, she's their star witness. We know this for a fact. That's what the headlines have been saying. But she's also in her third trimester, so maybe they were concerned that she might have the baby and not be available. And so they wanted to get her out the way. Nevertheless, it'll be interesting to see how they continue to question her. And then, once the defense gets their turn, so pay attention,
Mhm.
folks, today. And if not, we'll have an update for you tomorrow.
Yeah, and just real quick, I'm not exactly sure the breakdown, but I know that there are a little bit of everybody on that jury. RNG is asking how many black males are on the jury, and I know that there's at least a couple of black men on that jury, a couple of black women, a couple of white women, a couple of Hispanics. They ran. It looks like New York City. That jury looks like New York City, and I think that's important. So, uh, moving on to our next topic,
Mhm.
Niel, the famous 6 888 women of the U.S. Army are among the many African Americans and people of color that are no longer available in Arlington National Cemetery. This is due to Trump's executive order against what he calls, quote, illegal and immoral DE&I programs. NASA, the Pentagon, and other government agencies have also been targeted.
Mm, yeah. It's funny his definition of DEI, because we could say the Africans who are over here are DEIs that we just saw in the morning clip. And so, it's just white privilege doing what it does. And most importantly, continuing to erase American history.
At least trying to, right?
Well, they're
And
making it happen. I mean, we're going to have to do a lot of cleanup when they get up out of there, because the things that the thing is, they're throwing so much at us and they're doing so much. A lot of the stuff we're not even reporting on because it's happening so fast. And a lot of it is happening quietly. And it's the
Mhm,
quiet things that we have to be concerned about, because we don't even know that it's gone until
mhm.
something happens to bring up the subject matter. And then it's like, they did what? So it's going to be a lot of cleanup after it's
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely a lot of cleanup. And it's funny because again, the last 4 years, how much of that was spent by the Biden-Harris administration trying to clean up the mess that Trump left the first time?
hmm and this
And
time
that's
it's going
where,
to be worse.
well, right, and isn't that where people sometimes get it twisted? Like, okay, he hasn't done this or she hasn't done this, but what they have been doing, what the mess that they've had to clean up. When Trump walked into the office for the first time in 2016,
hmm
he was left an economy that had been totally turned around, booming. He had been left with a clean slate, really, and of course, his actions with COVID and everything else just really nosedive things. And so you have to, and people were so upset that they gave the Biden Harris ticket the most votes in the history of the presidency to
hmm
get Trump out.
hmm
And it's one of those, I guess, how soon we forget, right?
Right, right.
And I can't read that. The administration. Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. Has this is a it's a great story in Time magazine. The Trump administration has been busy commanding an Orwellian erasure of women's achievements from the public record. And yeah, without question, this is what they've been doing. And I still don't see. Now, yesterday, for instance, I was going to say I don't see really where the pushback is, but as you've been pointing out, there has been some pushback, and yesterday I really enjoyed seeing all these people not necessarily storm the U.S. Capitol, but they went into the Rayburn building. It was a bunch, hundreds, to
hmm
protest the Medicaid situation where the Republicans are trying to strip Medicaid. They want to add tax to Social Security payments,
hmm
and other things. And folks are like, no, you're not doing this. And I thought, wow, this is interesting because how are they going to respond if that crowd gets larger, J6 size?
hmm
How are they going to respond?
Yeah, well, it
So
needs
folks
to
are
happen.
speaking up.
Yeah, for sure. Keep it up.
um Yeah, this is where we are though. And also, in the news that we are bringing you this morning, the FBI ordered agents this week to devote more time to immigration enforcement and scale back investigating white collar crimes. And these white collar crimes defined as even include, I should say, not defined, include government corruption. It includes any foreign charges about foreign interference or foreign activities. Uh, kleptocrat. What? How do you say this word? Uh, whatever. Bribery. Foreign bribery. Foreign influence. Um, they want to. Well, not that they want to. They are doing it. They are. In other words, they're ignoring these things.
hmm
They're ignoring them.
Yeah, all the
And
things that his sons, his daughter, son-in-law, all the things that they're doing, he's just telling them not to investigate
don't
it.
investigate. Right, because we keep hearing that the Trump family is making money in Saudi Arabia, Germany, this place, that place. Um, the same stuff that they wanted to send Hunter Biden to prison for.
Hmm. All the things that his friends are doing, this prison stuff, all the things that he's doing, he's saying, "Oh no, don't worry about that. Look over there. Look over there."
Mm, mm, mm. And with this going on at the same time, according to newly released data from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, Black women experienced the steepest job loss of any demographic group in April. They shed more than 106,000 jobs. So they're taking jobs away. They're taking away freedoms. They're taking away education. And now we find that also a former Bush administration official has made startling claims that the U.S. government has built an extensive underground network of bunkers worth $21 trillion.
Mm.
So
That
this
was a
is how they
lot.
spending their money.
Wow.
This is how they spending their
Yeah.
money.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
we
it's
we
the things that we don't know. Like I just said earlier, we don't know until we know, and then when we find out, we're like, "They're doing what? Not they're doing. They did. They did what?
they did what?
They're selling them to who? Why we don't know about it? Why it's not on our Amazon buying list? You know what I'm saying? What are they going for? Maybe we want one."
And you know that and I was checking this out with Pew Research Center, the Center for American Progress, and others, several others. Black women have been the most. We always say this, but you have serious stats that show that Black women are the ones who are usually employed the most in this country.
Mhm.
They're usually the ones that hold down jobs, and now you're eliminating them.
Yeah, I mean, I think it all goes back to Donald Trump really quietly. I think he has a huge problem with Michelle Obama, and he's telling us where the black jobs are. He's taking them from us. You know, who that I mean that quote that she said, it just went all across the internet. Who's going to tell him that one of those jobs might be a black job? So what he's telling us is there are no black jobs for y'all, and I'm going to find a way to take them all from you. That's what that says to me. Now, it don't have to say it to nobody else, but that just rings in my head. It, he is just like, to me, sending a message like, I'm gonna take all the black jobs, and ain't no black jobs in my administration, and all the other black people that support me, so what?
Somebody had posted in the chat just earlier about about asking folks from Chicago Flips Red about all of this.
Oh, yeah, we definitely can have Zoe come back on. She sends me stuff all the time, about what they're doing, and I read it because I mean, knowledge is power. And so I'm not intimidated. They don't bother me. So yeah, we can have Chicago Red back on the show. I'm sure they have a lot to update us on. There's a lot going on in Chicago.
Yeah, well, yeah. I just think that what we need is, and I don't dismiss in any way what you're saying about getting information from all sources, but I just think that sometimes you're in a situation where rhetoric is just what people don't want to hear. They want to hear facts. They don't want to hear rhetoric when it comes to this real life stuff. I mean, we can spew rhetoric about entertainment stuff or whatever, but when it comes to folks in their livelihoods and what's going on, we see what's going on. I think folks just want you to be straight up, and when they perceive to hear nonsense, it's not gonna go over well. And so hopefully we can get some straight forward honest conversation if we do invite Chicago Red back.
For sure.
Um two public meetings are being held this week. One was held yesterday by the National Park Service to discuss ongoing rehab plans at the family home of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in Atlanta. The first meeting, of course, like I said, was held yesterday, was held virtually and in person. And the National Park Service, which maintains the home, which is on Sunset Avenue in Vine City, will conduct a Zoom webinar. The second meeting, which will be also in person at the West Side Future Fund at 970 Jefferson Street Northwest. And that will take place tomorrow from 6 to 7. The Sunset Avenue home was purchased by Dr. King and Coretta Scott King in 1965, and is where the King family lived in Atlanta up until Dr. King's assassination in 1968.
So now, so this Zoom is to
Yep.
raise funds, or to what is the Zoom for?
It's to get public input
Okay,
on
got it.
yeah. And Dr. King, they used to have a lot of meetings there in his basement, apparently, according to the National Park Service. Yeah, and the fact that I'm just surprised that the National Park Service is doing this at this time, that they're allowed to do it.
Well, they better quietly do it, because if Project 2025 gets wind of this, they're gonna be like, "What?" Yeah, it's interesting that they are. Yeah.
It really is. It's a well-known tourist site, of course, as you would expect it to be. And they had closed it for renovations. It's been closed since 2023. And it was actually the National Park Service who purchased the home in 2018. And so they've been wanting to develop plans to rehab and preserve it. I mean, if there's a home you're going to preserve, it's got to be that one, right?
For sure. And then whatever happened to the other house that he lived in? Remember, somebody tried to set it on fire, and then they put the big gate around it. And I just wonder if they have been able to, fix it. Is it back open again? Remember when a black woman went up and tried to set the house on fire about a
Oh
year ago?
gosh. It's vaguely familiar. See, a million things happen every day these days, and so, and it's not that that's not important, because it is important. So some of the important
Yeah.
things get lost.
For
Wow.
sure. So,
And Greer says she remembers. It's vague, and when you said a black woman, it does ring a bell. So
because that was the shocking thing. We just assumed that it was some KKK from the backwoods of Georgia, and it was a black woman, probably
they're
with
saying
mental issues. But
exactly. This is what they're saying in the chat. David says he had a mental breakdown, and Inferno 932 says she set herself on fire. So that's
yeah.
very interesting stuff there. Wow, man. And why that location?
Why that location? Maybe only she knows. Only she knows, and the
Only
people
she-
talking to her in her head. That's
Oh
who we
gosh.
only.
Oh my God. Attention is what Inferno 932 says. She did it at that location for attention. Yeah, you're definitely gonna get attention there.
Right, for sure.
And look, over a year later, you're talking about it, right? So
Well, yeah, I mean, this story is definitely relative to it
right.
because
Oh,
it's
without
the key
question.
house. Yeah.
No, I don't think it was Orangey. He says, was that black lady from Chicago Flips Red? No, it wasn't her. Oh gosh. She said, so here's another tidbit, Neil, and maybe you knew this. Inferno says that she was trying to draw attention to the people of Palestine and the Congo.
Mm. Hmm.
He said the media slandered her name.
We didn't get nothing from that. We didn't get that at all. That we didn't. I mean, could you have picked somebody else that was for the war? Like, why are you? But like I said, it was going on in her head.
Right.
She had
Right.
her reasons. I believe she had her reasons.
Wow.
Bad decision, but I believe she had the people talking to her in her head, they was telling her.
Oh gosh. All right. Let it be known quickies for today. What you got?
Well, of course, there were some elections yesterday. We know Tuesday is voting day in this country. And so we want to give a
Okay.
congratulations to John Ewing, who
Yeah.
makes history as Omaha, Nebraska's first Black mayor after defeating a 3-term incumbent. So congratulations to him. There are a ton of elections this month. So and they're local elections. And so we always talk about all politics start local. So know what's happening in your community, know what's happening in your city and your state, and make sure you rock your vote.
And
And we
our
haven't.
our
Yeah.
I'm sorry, our girl TD Sanders, she runs the Omaha Star there, and I'm sure that you can read about Mayor Ewing's victory in the Omaha Star.
Nice, nice. We have an update to the Carmelo Anthony story. That was the teen accused of stabbing another teen at the track meet. And he was arrested, remember, and his bail was set at $1 million. And the judge reduced it to 250,000, which made her, along with him, get death threats. But good news coming out of that, some good news. He'll be allowed to graduate from his high school and receive his diploma under a new agreement. And this is according to the advocacy group that helped make this happen, Next Generation Action Network. I think this is important too, because if our justice system says everybody is innocent until proven guilty, then he's innocent and he should be able to graduate from high school. So shout out to Next Generation Action Network for helping make that happen. In more political news, Elon Musk is out as head of Doge, and replacing him is Russell Vogt, one of the key masterminds behind Project 2025. Now, Vogt plans to fast pace the dismantling of the federal government as we know it. And so I think this might be more detrimental than Elon Musk. And
Well,
this
we
might have
keep
been the agenda all along.
well, we keep saying, the W you know as opposed to the W don't know. And you remember when Pence was the VP to Trump, and people were saying, well, he might be worse than Trump. That obviously turned out to be false, but oftentimes it's not false. And so you see, another evil individual getting all of this power in this case right here. Uh,
Right. I mean, I think what makes this work, well, I think, it was bad that Elon Musk was able to come in and take all of our data. We still don't know what he's going to do with it because he already has it. But 25 is being implemented within our government. And so for him to go in and begin to double down of what they already started, I mean, this is one to pay attention to, folks.
well, MB says, oh God, Russell Vought is a nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
again, somebody else who is, as Dr. Joni points out, unelected and unvetted.
Mm-hmm. For sure. So we're just paying attention to what's happening. But let's head on over to Minnesota, where Attorney AG Keith Ellison has made it very clear that former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin, who killed George Floyd, will serve his full state conviction despite calls for Trump to issue him a federal pardon. So even if Trump pardons him in a federal jail, he's still going to have to serve that 22.5 years in a state prison on charges of murder and manslaughter for murdering George Floyd, whose fifth anniversary of his murder is this month. Remember, it happened on a Memorial Day weekend, and it
Yeah.
changed everything.
So it's interesting. There are people who actually um, are really hoping that Trump pardons him on the federal level, because if you recall, Chauvin made a deal because he didn't want to go to state prison. He made a deal just because he wanted to serve in federal prison where he felt he would be more safe. and he could deal with it. So here, Keith Ellison, who's always stood up, is saying, "Hey, go ahead, be my guest, pardon him, because we got him in the state. We got him in the state, and he don't want to be in state prison." So I'm pretty sure Chauvin does not want this pardon. This is one time where he does not want this pardon, because he would wind up in state prison and out of the confines of federal prison. So
isn't he already
he's in the
in
pickle.
state prison? Isn't he already?
No,
in
he's
state
in.
prison? He's in the feds right now.
He's in federal prison. Yep.
Oh.
Yeah, he want his deal. That's the deal he cut to avoid having to serve his time in state prison. They made a deal that he could serve it in federal prison if he pled guilty to those federal charges, and that's why he pled guilty to those federal charges. So he'd already been convicted on the state level.
Right.
So
okay.
So it's the irony. Yeah, it's irony there.
Yeah. So and see, we talk about elections all the time. This is what it means when we say representation matters. You know, Keith Ellison was very instrumental with just supporting the district attorney's team to get that conviction. And he has been one of the hopes of that state to keeping the peace, and the people can see, okay, we do have an attorney general that is going to make sure that fairness and justice is had, regardless. And so there you have it. But let's keep going and let's talk about Google. Google has agreed to a $50 million case class action settlement covering about 4,000 current and former Black employees in California and New York. Now, the victory stems from a 2022 suit filed by a woman named April Curley. She's the former diversity recruiter for Google, and she was supposed to hire, she was recruited to hire HBCU graduates and students. Now, she alleged that the company systemically underpaid and underleveled Black employees. She said they placed them in lower positions regardless of qualifications and fostered a hostile work environment. Now, Curley claims she was stereotyped, isolated, and eventually fired for speaking up about discrimination. So this case turned into a class action lawsuit, and $50 million is being dispersed. I mean, good for her for standing up, and good for everybody at Google that decided to say, me too. Finally, me too worked.
Me too worked.
I think it's interesting because I've been to Google facilities and campuses, and they are one of the most friendliest and beautiful campuses. And when I say friendly, I mean inviting to where they serve you lunch. They make it to where you never want to leave. I've had some conversations with Google employees, and they make their work environment so friendly. Like, you could sleep there, you can go to the gym there, you can bring your pets there, you eat there for free. They make it to where you never want to leave. It's like being in a resort / gym / favorite restaurant. And the goal is to keep you there, to make you more productive. And so to see people being treated like that. And also remember too, what's also interesting about Google, especially the ones up in Silicon Valley or up north here in California, is that they have a whole homeless community encamped around their facilities, and the people who work there, they can't even afford to have an apartment. I remember, I think it was Diane Sawyer on ABC. She did a special about that, about how like Google employee, it was like a difference between the employees at Google and the help at Google. The help slept outside in their cars while everybody else was paid these lavish incomes. And so Google has like mixed reviews. You know, it's like, what's going on over there at Google? What's going on?
Well, it sounds like, as MB says, they want it to be your life. You know, it's like you said, sleep there, eat there. What? No, it can't be my life. Your job shouldn't be your life, in my opinion.
It's really nice though. The campuses are really nice. The food delicious. Like, I've been invited, like a friend, now come have lunch with me. I mean, they serve you filet mignon. They might have lobster.
They're gonna kidnap you. They're gonna kidnap you.
I mean, people have like their dog beds next to their desk. I
Oh
mean,
gosh.
they might have happy hour in the next room, for some type of program that they're running. I mean, it's very nice. But
A
to
happy
see
hour?
that, yeah, they have that. I've been
You
there
can
for
drink
a
on the
happy
job?
hour. Well, no, I like if they have like a program and they invite people to come and see what they're up to. They do like different programs for the continent of Africa, and they may have you come and check it out. I mean, it's fabulous. But to see the
Mhm.
internal workings that are happening and how people are still discriminated against, it's just I'm just glad that they got their settlement.
Okay.
And Google agreed to do it because they knew they was wrong. And then in more headlines that you might have missed, let it be known, family, Trump signed an executive order directing the justice to arrange for free legal defense for police officers accused of misconduct, saying they're unfairly targeted for doing their jobs. Now, here's the key to this story. The move
Mhm.
follows deals Trump made with 9 major law firms committing nearly $1 billion in free legal services for causes he supports.
So he says police officers are unfairly targeted for doing their jobs. What happened at the Capitol on January 6th? What happened when they were taking you into the courts in New York and in Georgia and Florida and Washington? Um, yeah, you the hypocrisy is real. I'll leave it at that.
Well, I think too, another red flag with this is that when Trump was going through his courts and trials, it was hard for him to get an attorney, right? And so now he's like finding a way to get all 9 key law firms in his back pocket. It might be for his kids, it might be for whatever. But he's finding a way to make that White House his personal Trump, you know, push out for anything that he wants to do. I mean,
Mm.
this is crazy. White collar, we just talked about earlier white collar crimes, right? He wants to like, oh, let's not worry about them. And now he's
Mhm.
funneling money to these different law firms. And for what? These are
Mm.
the things that that just kind of glance over. And if you turn on MSNBC, you turn on CNN, you turn on, they're not going to talk about this.
I tell you,
So,
how far,
so
how far, how far we've fallen as a nation here.
right. But our last quickie is somebody who is reclaiming America for her own and rewriting her story. Miss Beyonce Knowles Carter. She has some good news this week. Cowboy Carter is the biggest single venue engagement in box score history by a woman. Now, this is according to Billboard. And this has to do with her kicking off only her first 5 dates at SoFi. It grossed 55 million. Now she heads to Chicago tomorrow for a 3-day stay. Um, and so we'll see how much money this tour makes because she has about 10 more cities to go to. But on her first 5 shows, $55 million. And the tour is sponsored by her Sacred hair care products and her Sir Davis whiskey. And all of these things are at the concert. So when you go inside the concert, you have Sacred over here, you have Sir Davis over here, and she's giving you tasters. You have Sir Davis at the bar where you can buy the drinks. So she's just making money all around. And that's what you call the American dream. She's living it, okay? She came from little country girl from Texas. That's the hope that I have when I hear all this stuff about Donald Trump. Black folks are still thriving. Black folks are still on the front line picketing. And so these are like little things of hope that you have. I mean, of course, Beyonce is out of my pocket stratosphere when it comes to money, but I can also remember when her and her family were just like mine and yours, Stacey, and she got the American dream. And that's what they don't want us to have.
Yeah, it's good to see when artists have their own stuff. And innovate things. It just takes me back to 2004 when Prince announced the Musicology tour, and what happened there. He did something that I had thought artists should have been doing all along. When you bought a ticket to the concert, the price of the album, the CD, was built in, and you got mailed immediately a CD, his new CD. So you had millions of people go to the concert, which meant you had millions in record sales. Which the Musicology album was number one for a little while there, but to see innovation like that, and like what you're saying with Beyonce, with her stuff at her concerts and things, that's what you like to see. And once again, these top uh, black artists are showing the way.
Hmm. Yeah, if
So
if
there.
you're able to go see the tour, I recommend it. Tickets aren't as expensive as they were saying they are, but it's definitely an ode to Black people in this country and to our contributions to America, and just how America is just as much as ours as it is theirs. I mean, I just think that is such a beautiful statement that she's making.
Well,
And
folks,
those are the quickies for
the
today.
yeah, and the tour continues. Like you said, SoFi is next, so there you have it.
No, Soldier Field in Chicago.
Soldier Field, right? Wow, Soldier Field, Soldier Field. They revamped or redid a few years ago, so should be nice. Should be nice. So here are some Black History facts on this date in 1888. Get this: slavery was abolished in Brazil, so they were leading the way.
Mm, I love it. On this date in 1961, a bus with the first group of freedom riders was bombed and burned by segregationists outside of Alabama. Now, the group was attacked in Anniston and Birmingham.
Mm, yeah, wow. It's a shame that we when we look back at that and then see what's going on today, it's really sad. It's a
It
sad
is.
state of affairs. Um, so let's get to our Black History pop quiz answer. Now I saw one person, and I think that was Michelle Madison who wrote
Mhm.
Michael McDonald. Um,
Ooh.
yeah, that's the only real guess I saw in the chat. Let's put the question up again. Which one-time sideman who once backed the Isley brothers and a preacher's son from Macon, Georgia, had lost more than 60% of his hearing by the time of his death? Now, last time I checked, Michelle, Michael McDonald was still alive.
He's still alive. Yeah.
Yeah. Inferno 932 says Little Richard.
Hmm.
Um, I don't. Mm,
Isn't Little
I
Richard
that's
too old for that? Isn't he a little older than the Isley brothers? Are they the same age? Oh, Jimi
oh, there's the
Hendrix.
wow.
Jimi Hendrix is your answer, folks.
Wait, so he lost. I didn't know he lost 60% of his hearing by the time his. I didn't know that.
Hmm.
Wow, Jimmy, the ultimate guitarist right there.
Mm.
Wow, that's a great one. I would never have guessed.
Me neither. I
Oh,
would
she
have
said I
thought
didn't say
a
that.
totally different way.
Yeah, right. Somebody said Little Richard. Yeah, I would not have guessed Jimi Hendrix. Wow. Okay, so we learned once again. Oh, she said she was going. Michelle said she was going to say Jimi Hendrix. Okay, so I don't know what the Michael McDonald reference was, but she said she was going to say Jim, so she would have gotten it right. Dr. Joni says, "Learning every day here." Listen, I'm learning too. I did not know that.
Me neither.
Incredible stuff.
Apparently, neither did the chat. We all learned something new today.
I'm serious. That is awesome. Okay. All right. So we are going to go to our black owned newspaper of the day, which is the Telegram News. The Telegram newspaper is a multicultural community newspaper that is distributed weekly in Metro Detroit and the Downriver communities in Wayne County. The goal of the Telegram is to connect citizens within the region by publishing information that educates, enlightens, uplifts, and empowers its readers and delivers consumers to our advertisers, products, and services. The Telegram continues to be unique in its approach to being a newspaper that the entire community turns to for local, state, and national information. You know, it's been African American owned since 1944.
Wait a minute. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I was reading that headline. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Put it back up, Greer. Keep
Okay.
going. I'm sorry.
That's okay. It's been as I said, it's been owned since it was established. It was owned by African Americans, and that was in 1944. Okay. Wow.
No, so the picture, I was saying, Greer, put it back up because the picture said Hakeem Jeffries, and I was like, that's Cory Booker. But then if you read the headline, if Greer put it back up, if you read the headline, his name comes later.
We all look alike.
Yeah, that's when I first thought, wait a minute. But it's Democrats, Hakeem Jeffries and Cory Booker. That threw me off. I just saw Hakeem Jeffries first, but okay.
Yeah, but check them out. Yep, check out the Telegram newspaper. It's been around for, gosh, they're going on 100 years. 1944, huh? It'll soon be 100 years that they've been around. So good for them. And of course, they have a nice website. And if you're in the area, pick up the physical copy of that newspaper.
All right. And of course, you know, we have everything over at Black Press USA. I guess the banner story today is Governor Wes Moore makes major legislative changes in the state of Maryland. He's looking so presidential right now, but he said he's not running. He doubled down and said, nope, not going to happen. And so there you have it. But there's so much news over at Black Press USA, so many stories that uplift, that inspire, and most importantly, keep you connected with what's happening in our Black communities across the United States. So just check out blackpressusa.com.
And check us out again tomorrow on Let It Be Known. We will be back for another episode and probably some new stuff out of New York and everywhere else. So we'll see you then.